Tokyo, Japan, in the year 2020 for January 18th, to be exact, or January 18th, 24. As we'd mark, something strange was brewing in a quiet northern district called Adachi. That's where the Takahashi family lived. Picture this: a simple family of 4 mom, dad, a son, and a daughter. The son's off living on his own. The daughter, too pretty, sure she's married by knee, and the parents, well, they're holding down the fort, just the 2 of them, alone in their little house. Every now and then, the son or daughter would swing by to check in, make sure mom and dad were doing all right. But on that fateful day, January 18th, the son, Ichiro, decided it was time for a visit. He wanted to ease his mind, see how his folks were holding up. So he heads over to the family home. When he gets there though, something's off, way off. The house looks the same on the outside, sure, but the vibe, totally different. Ichiro steps inside, and it's pitch black, no lights, no flicker of life, dead silence. Usually when he'd visit, there'd be noise: dad lounging in the living room, TV blaring some old show, mom bustling around in the bedroom, or cooking up a storm in the kitchen. That was the routine. But this day, nothing. It was eerie, like the house had swallowed every sound hole. Ichiro doesn't waste time. He flips on the lights, starts calling out, "Mom? Dad?" His dad's name is Norihiro, around 55 years old. Mom's Kimi, 52. Both of them still young enough to get around, not the type to just vanish. So where were they? Ichiro's gut starts twisting. Why is the house like this? Why is it so dark, so quiet? He heads downstairs to the basement, thinking maybe they're there. Nothing. No sign of them. Now he's really freaking out. He pulls out his phone, dials his sister. "Hey, you heard from mom and dad?" She's clueless, says she hasn't talked to them in a day, maybe more. Ichiro hangs up, heart pounding. As he paces through the house, he starts noticing things, small things that make his blood run cold. Drops of blood. Not huge pools, nothing dramatic like a murder scene out of a movie, but enough to make you stop and stare. A smear here, a drip there. It's subtle, but it's there. Weird. Unsettling. He bolts outside, starts knocking on neighbors' doors. "Hey, you see my dad? My mom?" The neighbors, shrugs, say they saw Norihiro and Kimi leave the house 2 days ago on January 16th. Did they come back? Ichiro presses. Some say maybe, some say they don't know. No one's sure. It's all foggy guesses. Now Ichiro's head is spinning. He calls his parents, phone straight to voicemail. He's done playing detective. Enough of this, he mutters, and dials the police. While he waits, he heads to his dad's bar. Yeah, Norihiro's retired, but a few years back, he opened this little spot to keep busy and make some extra cash. Ichiro gets there, and guess what? Bar's locked up tight. Dad's nowhere in sight. The folks around the bar haven't seen him either. The police roll up to the house, start poking around. No signs of a break-in, no smashed windows, no busted locks. Nothing stolen either. The valuables are all still there, untouched. At first glance, it's like mom and dad just walked out on their own. But then, why the blood? The neighbors pipe up again. "We saw Norihiro leave around noon on the 16th. Kimi stepped out half an hour later, but she came back maybe 15 minutes after that. That's the last anyone saw of them, January 16th. After that, poof, gone." The cops decide to come back the next day, January 19th, with police dogs and a sharper eye. They comb through the house room by room. Everything looks normal to normal, until one of the dogs starts sniffing around the basement. It stops at this wooden panel. Now, Ichiro swears that panel's always been there, just part of the wall, nothing special. But the cops pry it loose, and behind it, a bag. Inside the bag, the bodies of Norihiro and Kimi. Stabbed Norihiro, took around 10 hits, Kimi 8. Brutal. Ichiro's there with the cops when they find it, and he just collapses. He never imagined his parents were down there, dead in their own basement. See, that basement wasn't even a place they used much, just a spot for old junk they might need someday. Ichiro remembers something though. When I came by on the 18th, he tells the cops, there was this awful smell down there. I figured it was just neglect, you know? They hardly ever went down there. Even the police had missed it on their first sweep, did a quick look, saw nothing, moved on. But now, that smell, those faint bloodstains, it all clicked. Someone had tried to clean up, fast and sloppy, leaving just enough behind to get caught. So who did it? Ichiro's the one who found the house dark and empty. But rewind a bit, he last talked to his parents on the morning of January 16th. A normal call, them checking in on him before he headed to work. They sounded fine, no hint of trouble. But the neighbors, they've got a different story. They tell the cops, Ichiro's a good guy, humble, but he and his folks fought a lot over money. He's ambitious, always pushing for big projects, wanting to boost the family's income. His dad, Norihiro, wasn't having it. They've got a decent life middle class, even own some farmland a ways off. Norihiro thought they were set, didn't want to risk it on Ichiro's shaky ideas. Ichiro's co-workers though, they say he was normal that week January 16th, 17th, 18th, showing up to work, heading home. No red flags, just a regular guy. The cops figured those family arguments. Typical stuff, nothing to kill over. Norihiro and Kimi had only moved to Adachi 2 years ago, and they were well-liked, humble, friendly, despite being better off than most. Norihiro's bar was a neighborhood gym he'd chat up the locals, keep things warm. No enemies, no grudges. So if Ichiro didn't do it, who did? The police dig deeper, pull street camera footage, and there it is, 2 masked figures slipping into the Takahashi house on January 16th. After Norihiro and Kimi stepped out, they're in and out that same day afternoon to evening, carrying a bag. They toss it in a dumpster down the street, then vanish, sticking to quiet corners where no one spot them. The cops tracked down that trash. Thankfully, it hadn't been hauled off yet. Dan inside the bag, bloody clothes, DNA matches, Norihiro and Kimi. The killer's DNA is there too, but no hits in the system. The police haul in Ichiro and his sister, showed them pics of the masked pair body shapes, whatever's visible. The sisters stumped. I don't know these people. You're saying they killed mom and dad, but I've got nothing. Ichiro though, he stares at the photos, squints hard, then looks up at the detective. I'm sure of it, he says. One of them's my ex-girlfriend. Her name's Hazel. Filipino, came to Japan in 2017 at 23. Loved the place, picked up the language fast. Problem was, her visa was running out, and she didn't want to go back to the Philippines. So, she marries a Japanese guy, the son of the bar owner where she worked. It's a paper marriage, no love, just a way to stay legal. He's got a girlfriend already, tells Hazel, this is just for show. She's fine with it till she gets pregnant. No one knows who the father is, and the bar life. You can imagine the possibilities. She tells her husband, but he brushes her off. That's not my kid, figure it out. The bar owner, her boss, finds out she's pregnant and fires her on the spot. You're done here. Hazel's broke, desperate, and then she disappears from the story. No word on whether she had the baby or not. Fast forward 3 years. She's training to be a nurse when she meets Ichiro. Sparks fly. He's smitten, brings her home to meet the family. They love her's charming, speaks Japanese like a native, sweet as can be. But when Ichiro floats the idea of marriage, his parents shut it down hard. Date her? Fine. Marry her? No way. Maybe they knew her past visa tricks, that shady marriage. To them, she's trouble. Ichiro wrestles with it, decides they're right, and cuts her off. She doesn't fight at radio silence until January 16th, 2024. She calls him out of the blue. Her voice is shaky, not her usual self. Hey, have you been? It's been a while. They chat, catch up. Then she drops it. What if we got back together? New page, you and me. Maybe your folks would come around. Ichiro freezes. Doesn't say yes, doesn't say no. Just, I don't know if that'll work. I think we're done. She hangs up. An hour later, a text. It's all over. The cops hear this and zero in. Hazel lives 10 minutes from the Takahashi house on foot. They raid her place. She's gone. Neighbors say she's been MIA for days. Then a woman steps up. I saw her January 17th at a shop, grabbing bandages, tons of them. I waved, but she bolted like she didn't want me to see her. Bandages. Blood. The pieces start falling into place. They catch Hazel eventually. She denies everything. I wasn't even there. I was house hunting with a friend. Ask her. The friend's fake. The alibi's garbage. But those masked figures. There were two. If Hazel's one, who's the other? Enter Brian, 34, also Filipino. He's been to Japan before once for work training, now this trip. Locals know him, he's tight with Hazel, always hanging around. The cops nab him, and under pressure, he cracks, spills it all. Hazel knew the code to the Takahashi house. Ichiro had given it to her back when they were together. On January 16th, she and Brian wait. Norihiro and Kimi step out. The coast's clear. They punch in the code, slip inside. Hazel calls Ichiro one last time, her final shot. When he shuts her down, she snaps. Kimi comes home first. They stab her, stash her in the basement. Norihiro's next, same deal. Quick cleanup, bloody clothes in a bag, masks back on. They dump the bag and ghost. Why'd Brian help? He says they go way back from the Philippines. He felt bad for her, loved her, maybe, or just wanted to prove something. Hazel, she's still claiming innocence. Motives, murky money's rumored. Maybe a debt to the Takahashis she couldn't pay. But nothing's missing from the house. Revenge feels close as she blamed them for tanking her shot with Ichiro. One last twist. That night, Brian's at a store, 10 p.m., buying beer. His right hand's wrapped in bandages. The cops connect the dots. He's the second killer. The case wraps up. Hazel and Brian face trial. Life sentences loom large. And that's where we leave it, folks. Curiosity satisfied. Thanks for listening. Stay safe out there.